Previously on Forever Valley, one era came to an end. Chara Nothing passed away. She had arrived in Forever Valley with nothing to her name, achieved far more than she expected, and left behind a growing legacy. Her husband Dave, devout as ever, followed her the next day. The family was devastated, but the couple left behind children and grandchildren who would carry on their mission. The founders' deaths affected not only their family but the entire fledgling community. Brad, in particular, felt he had lost important people in his life. The couple had readily accepted his relationship with their youngest son and had always been kind to him and his daughter. Willa, for her part, didn't feel it was a major event, but it did spark an immense curiosity in her to understand how death worked scientifically. To hide her lack of grief from her father, she busied herself with repairs and cleaning around the house. Brad thought this was just her coping mechanism, and she did not dissuade him from the idea. Brad is still determined to master all the instruments, but it's proving difficult. He has to manage his time between earning money, which requires playing guitar, a skill he's already mastered, and wanting to experiment with other instruments that bring in less money. It's a choice between his wishes and his responsibility as the only adult in the house. For her part, Willa is also in a debate with herself, between her desire to freely experiment with her science, and her need to hide that desire, so that her father and the Forever Valley community do not discover her lack of scruples in working. She takes advantage of the times when Brad is not at home to hack into government databases, both to gather information about the experiments they are doing, and to collect some money to save for her future research. Even with this limitation, Willa thinks she's doing quite well, while she watches amusedly as the squirrel hides because of the fear the girl causes it. Luckily, her father hasn't noticed anything yet. Perhaps because he's preoccupied with his boyfriend's recent fatherhood. Willa must admit that she likes Franco, since the man has been with them for as long as she can remember and has always been nice to her without being overwhelming, and that if her father and the other man are in this situation now, it is purely Brad's fault. Her father should be braver and tell his boyfriend that having a child without considering him part of the process has hurt him. But as Willa has already said, it's entirely Brad's fault when he decided that Franco should be nothing more than a boyfriend living in separate houses. If Brad didn't consider him part of Willa's upbringing, why wouldn't Franco do the same with Violet? But that's not her problem. She accompanied her father to the Nothing's house for another purpose: to test if babies can tell when someone is doing something wrong. Successful experiment. As if he had heard his daughter's thoughts, Brad mustered the courage to speak with Franco. He told him how he felt left out of the younger man's decision to become a father, and that he would have liked to have been part of that process. Franco replied that he too would have liked that too, but he hadn't done it because Brad had made it clear what kind of relationship they had. One where Brad hadn't wanted to be anything more than two people with different lives who happened to be spending time together. As the man held his boyfriend's daughter in his arms, he realized that while things had been that way at the beginning of their relationship, that wasn't how he felt anymore. He wanted much more with Franco. Now he would have to think about how he would tell his boyfriend, and make him believe that it was true and not simply because of the conversation they had had. So preoccupied was he with his own problem that he didn't notice his daughter was having hers. Apparently, Leon had realized Willa had done something to Violet earlier, but since he had no proof, the young woman took the opportunity to feign offense and let him know she wouldn't allow anyone to speak ill of her without justification. Then she left the Nothing house, pretending to be offended. If the whole situation had lifted her spirits by allowing her to express her less than nice instincts, no one would know. As said before, Braz was very preoccupied, indeed. Someone offered the man some money to convince Hilda Dupree that technology is great, even though he is a technophobic. But it was easy money and without apparent problems, with the exception that the woman was the surrogate mother of her boyfriend's daughter. Now that she's in the late teens, Willa notices how run down her house is despite the nice decor. Does she blame her father? Partly, yes, since he should have done more to earn money. But she also understands the importance of pursuing one's passions. Although she can't compare the need for knowledge to playing guitar in a park. She doesn't want to be condescending to him, but anyway, she's good with her hands, and this helps her understand how things work, which always adds to her knowledge. The Nothings threw a costume party to celebrate the end of autumn. Brad gladly attended. Any excuse to spend more time with Franco was welcome. Willa, however, preferred to celebrate on her own with her friend Adrienne Rousseau in Stony Falls. They spent several hours talking about their parents, and in particular how both Brad and Amelie were similar in their philosophies of letting their children decide their own paths. They've known each other since childhood, so the boy has become a source of trust for her, even though he's a few years younger. He's the only one in her life she feels she can truly be herself with, though she hasn't tried yet. For now, she'll start bringing up potentially controversial topics and see how he reacts. If everything goes as planned, perhaps she'll have an ally in her future. Willa saw a very handsome man approaching them, and immediately changed the conversation from the ethics of dissecting fish to something safer like planting apples in a garden. Adrian, amused, readily followed her lead. Then he watched intently as his friend seemed more interested in the newcomer than in him. Now he'd have something to tease her about. Willa considers herself the most logical person in town, so she started challenging different Sims in the city to prove it. Although having Miriam Portillo as the first person might not be the best choice for this kind of experiment. Both Brad and Franco felt it was time to talk and clear things up, to finally say everything they had kept hidden all this time so they could move forward. Brad, as calmly as possible, told him that he was hurt by Franco's decision to become a father without having consulted him. He added that he wouldn't have opposed it, obviously, since he had experienced the joy of fatherhood and understood the need that had arisen in the younger man, but that he would have liked to be a fundamental part of the process. Franco, for his part, told him that he believed it was something Brad wouldn't want to be a part of, which is why he hadn't considered him in the process, but that he would have liked to include him. Brad explained to Franco that what he had initially proposed as a relationship was no longer what he wanted. Now that they were both on the same page, the men concluded that there was only one logical step to take: to start a life together. Brad sat down to talk with his daughter about the new life he was about to begin. He explained that now that she was about to become a young adult, he felt at ease, leaving her alone in the house as he trusted her. He added that he wanted to experience what it was like to live with the man he loved. He hoped she wouldn't feel like he was replacing her in any way, since they would be raising Violet, Franco's daughter, together. Willa told him she was very happy for him and didn't feel like he was replacing her, neglecting to mention that her father's decision was very good for her, as she would have the freedom to experiment and explore her ideas without being judged. Franco approached her to talk at her birthday party, and she reassured him, saying she was very happy with the decision they had made. Brad is very proud of the good, mature daughter he has raised. Willa was ready to leave her teenage years behind, but life has surprises in store. Luckily, nothing serious happened, mainly thanks to Amelie Rousseau's help and her lack of fear in challenging situations. After a shower, Willa was ready to face her future again. Other people might have thought that was a warning from higher powers, but Willa didn't believe in that and knew that accidents happened all the time. Is it childish to think like that? And not listen to the warning? Who knows? He doesn't care. Since Amelie was the savior, she had the honor of eating cake with her. Once most of the guests had left and only the important people remained, Brad and Franco decided to have a private ceremony. Leon captured the moment with his phone like the good brother he is. And that's how Brad left the house where he had raised his daughter to start a new life. Franco followed her new husband, and Willa was finally alone in the house to begin being herself. What does the future hold for her? In the next episode we will see how this round continues and concludes with the Portillo family and with a new resident who has recently arrived in town, and whom none of the residents have seen yet. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next episode. Until next time, bye.